Joining us now, NBC News reporter Julia Jester in Madison, Wisconsin. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor on Capitol Hill, and USA Today Washington bureau chief Susan Page. Julia, you are in Wisconsin. You're talking to folks. What's the mood like?
Well, Katie, I got to experience the Elon Musk effect in full force at his event here in Green Bay, Wisconsin last night. He really emphasized not only the national implications of this race, but the race, he said, could determine, quote, the future of the world, leaning into the ripple effects resulting from this state Supreme Court election, namely redistricting. It could decide whether the state's congressional map gets redrawn, which could affect control of the House of Representatives. And Musk argued, if you like what Doge is doing, if you want to enact Trump's agenda, then it all comes through this Wisconsin Supreme Court race. He also stressed another measure on the ballot, which would be adding a voter ID requirement to the state constitution, which could affect voter turnout in this key battleground state. Now, we talked to voters who came out to Musk's event, a lot of bro-y kind of Musk types who were so excited to see him. And outside was a bit of a different environment of counter protesters really pushing back against the idea of Musk, what they believe, buying another election. Now, as for the candidates themselves, we've heard over the weekend from Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel about what they think about Elon Musk's political influence in their election. Take a listen.
I hope they understand what it says about Brad Schimmel, my opponent. The fact that he is allowing that, it certainly raises some questions about whether it's legal or not.
I'm not running for anything for Elon Musk or any other person. So if he's thinking he's supporting the person that's going to strike down statutes left and right, he's supporting the wrong candidate.
Now, notably, Brad Schimmel was not in attendance at the event last night in support of his candidacy, which could perhaps indicate he might be keeping a little bit of distance if this election does not go his way. Now, we just got new numbers from the Wisconsin Election Commission, which said that 645,000 Wisconsin residents have already cast their ballot in this election. And so all eyes will be on the state here tomorrow and see what the result will be of Elon Musk's first real test of his political influence during President Trump's second term. Katie?
Yeah, Democrats recently won a big election there for the state Supreme Court. They want to hang on to their majority. Sahil, the other two races that we're watching are both in Florida. They're both in pretty red places. Why are there suddenly nerves?
Yeah, Katie, these Florida races are ultimately about the margins. And let's take Florida's first congressional district first. There's no question about that. That is the Panhandle, the Deep South. The reddest district in Florida. Democrats are not going to be competitive at all there. And the 6th district, the Michael Waltz district, there is some anxiety among Republicans, and this partly comes down to the environment. It partly comes down to their candidate, Randy Fine. Party leaders are not thrilled with him. I spoke a few days ago to Congressman Rich Hudson, who runs the NRCC, the central campaign arm. He said that Randy Fine should have raised more money. He should have gotten on TV faster, essentially wanted him to be a better campaigner. But Hudson insisted they won't lose that seat. They'll ultimately prevail, and that Fine is doing just about enough to make sure they hold that seat. Remember, Michael Waltz won this district by 33 points a few months ago. If Democrats even come close, that would be, that would be quite remarkable. If they end up winning the seat, it would be nothing short of a political miracle. And a number of Democrats I've talked to say they are not at all optimistic about winning this seat. They are also watching the margin, Katie. The two party committees are officially not spending money on the seat as well, which gives you a sense that everyone expects Republicans to ultimately hold on to it. Now, one overarching concern Republicans have is that there is no Donald Trump on the ballot. Rich Hudson told me this as well. It's a challenge now for Republicans, given that their new coalition increasingly relies on low-propensity voters who are good at showing up in presidential elections but don't turn out in midterm elections. We saw that in 2018 when Trump was president. We saw a version of that in 2022 as well. Republicans underperformed even when there was a Democratic president. That is the question that people are watching for. How much of this is going to be a backlash environment, and how much are Republicans going to struggle in safe red territory? We saw how this came into play when Congresswoman Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's nomination to be UN ambassador was pulled by President Trump, who cited the narrow House majority and the fact that he didn't want to take a chance on that district. That's North Country, Katie. 24 points is the margin that Elise Stefanik won that by. The fact that that's even the slightest bit of a concern tells you something about the political environment that we're in right now.
Susan, let's talk about the significance of these races. First off, the significance of this state Supreme Court seat. Why so much money? Why so much focus on what is a state race?
Well, of course, every race in Wisconsin is really fiercely fought. It's such a closely divided state. But one of the big issues that is going to be in play with the state Supreme Court is redistricting, with that control of the state legislature. So that's an important thing to watch for. And just one thing to note, one of the extraordinary things that happened is over the last several decades, we've seen the nationalizations of these special House elections where the president really matters in how these House elections go. Now we've seen that extend to state courthouse, judicial races in individual states. And that is kind of new territory, I think, in American politics.
Why, though? I mean, you're seeing all of these races become nationalized, become federalized. What does Elon Musk and Donald Trump stand to gain by holding on to this state Supreme Court? So you're talking about redistricting. That's obviously important. Is there anything else?
Well, everything is seen as a leading indicator of the next election out, and that has been true in special elections and off-year elections before. I mean, just to go back to the House elections, in 2017 there were 6 special House elections. None of the seats flipped, but Democrats overperformed, Republicans underperformed, and the next year in that midterm election for Donald Trump's first term, Democrats picked up an astounding 41 seats and won back control of the House. And so that was a lesson, I think, to Donald Trump, that you need to watch these off-year elections, these special year elections, these special elections in the House and in state legislative races, because they tell you something about how Americans are feeling about you, about the presidency, and how this is one of the few ways in which Americans can express an opinion about how your presidency is going.
How much do Democrats need to win here, Susan?
Democrats have, in Wisconsin?
Or it would be any of the places, a win, period.
Democrats do not need a win in Florida. If they have a single-digit House race in Florida, 6, that is, by definition, a victory for Democrats, even though they don't get the seat. If they got the seat, it would be miraculous. In Wisconsin, that should be a close race. Democrats have been energized there. A loss there, I think, would be quite disappointing to Democrats.
Sahil, what are you hearing on Capitol Hill about morale for Democrats and how much they're looking into all 3 of these races?
Well, Susan's right. If Democrats cut it to single digits, that would be the political equivalent of a miracle. That would be a massive swing from the 33 points that Mike Waltz won Florida 6th by. But ultimately, this comes down to the margin of the House of Representatives, because that's going to be extremely consequential when Republicans in the House and the Senate are looking to advance President Trump's multi-trillion-dollar agenda on a party line basis. Right now, the margin is 218 to 213. There are 2 vacancies in safely Democratic districts that Democrats are likely to hold. So that would bring it to 218 to 215. If Republicans lose any of these seats, Florida 6th or anywhere else, that cuts them down to a perilous place, because that's a 1-vote margin. They already have one Republican member, Tom Massey, who's been against this reconciliation package. If they lose any more votes, this entire thing could collapse. So that's why there's so much anxiety from a governing standpoint. But also, people talk about special elections are special. Yes, that's true. But they also often have a way of being a harbinger for the political environment. This is going to be the first test we have, at least in terms of the margins, as to whether this backlash environment is building, how severe is it, and how much the Republicans in actual swing districts that are won by a few points need to worry if Democrats even get close here.
Yeah. Sahil, Julia, Susan, thank you guys very much.